Do you love eating? I can almost hear all of you saying, yeah. Did you know that some foods are actually quite interesting? Food plays a huge role in every culture, and what we eat today often reflects the times, places, and people who shaped our world. But back in history, food wasn't always as simple as it is now. Without refrigeration or even basic cooking methods we take for granted, people had to get creative to preserve food, make it last longer, or simply get by. Some of the foods they came up with seem downright strange to us now, so let's take a step back in time and explore 10 weird historical foods that you won't believe were once eaten around the world. Presentation of problem, challenge. In the past, food preservation was a major challenge. Without modern technology, people had to find ways to store food for long periods, especially during long winters or on lengthy sea voyages. But this led to some truly unusual and sometimes gross eating habits. Not only that, but food was often a symbol of wealth or status. While the rich feasted on exotic dishes, the poor had to make do with whatever they could find. This is why some of these foods sound so strange. They were born out of necessity, resourcefulness, or just a very different taste in cuisine. Let's dive into these 10 weird historical foods and see what people were actually eating throughout history. 1. Garam, ancient Rome. In ancient Rome, people didn't just put ketchup on their fries, they drizzled garum on everything. Garam was a fermented fish sauce made by letting fish sit in salt for weeks until they became a smelly, salty paste. While it may sound awful, it was the Romans' go-to condiment for everything. 2. Pickled pig's feet, medieval Europe. During medieval times, pickled pig's feet were considered a cheap but tasty snack, especially for the poor. These were prepared by preserving the feet in vinegar and salt. It may not sound appealing to us, but it was a filling treat back then. 3. Swan and Peacock, medieval feasts. Swan and peacock weren't just rare birds, they were luxury food in the Middle Ages. They were often served at royal feasts, where the rich dined on these exotic meats as a sign of their status. 4. Black pudding, Europe. Today, black pudding is a popular dish in the UK and Ireland, but it has a long, strange history. Made from blood, usually pig or cow, fat and oats, this blood sausage was a way to use every part of an animal without waste. It's still considered a delicacy by many, but it can be quite an acquired taste. 5. Sentry eggs, China. These preserved eggs may look like something out of a horror movie, but in China they are a common delicacy. Sentry eggs are soaked in a mixture of clay, ash, and quicklime for weeks or even months, which turns the egg yolk dark green and the egg white almost black. They're often eaten as a snack or used in traditional dishes. 6. Jellied eels, England. Back in the 18th century, jellied eels were a common street food in London. These eels were boiled, then cooled in a gelatinous broth to create a kind of jelly made from eel stock. While it might seem odd, jellied eels were a cheap and nutritious meal for many working-class families. 7. Fried tarantulas, Cambodia. During a period of famine in Cambodia, people started frying tarantulas as a source of protein. Today, fried tarantulas are still eaten in parts of Southeast Asia where they're considered a crunchy delicacy. It may sound scary, but they're actually quite tasty when cooked with garlic and salt. 8. Roasted locusts, ancient Egypt. Ancient Egyptians were no strangers to eating insects, especially locusts. They would roast them for a crunchy, protein-packed snack. Locusts are still eaten in some parts of the world today as a cheap, sustainable source of food. 9. Salted fish and hardtack, sailors' food. Sailors who spent months at sea relied on foods that wouldn't spoil, like salted fish and hardtack, a dry, hard biscuit. These foods weren't exactly delicious, but they were necessary to survive long voyages. 10. Cured ham, ancient Greece. Cured ham was one of the first preserved meats, developed by the ancient Greeks. They would salt and smoke the ham to keep it from spoiling. While it was a luxury food in ancient times, it's something we all recognise today in the form of delicious cured meats. So, what can we learn from these weird foods? While they may seem strange to us today, they represent the creativity and resourcefulness of people in history. These foods were often a necessity born out of limited resources or the need to survive harsh conditions. And, interestingly enough, some of these foods, like black pudding, jellied eels, and Sentry eggs, are still enjoyed by people in different parts of the world. What do you think? Would you dare to try any of these weird historical foods? Or are there other strange dishes from history that you know about? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed learning about these bizarre foods, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for more fun and quirky videos from history.